relatives, Ihani Washte, Adakiapi. I am slow this morning, but I'm going to do a reading out of a different book today. And I'm on the road. As you can see, it is frigid cold here in South Dakota. So wherever you're at, I hope you feel warm. I mean, thankfully, I'm really grateful for a nice warm car, a good, nice warm home, warm blankets, and that I don't have to struggle like many of our relatives are right now. So I'm going to go ahead and do a real quick reading. I am a little road weary. I spent a good portion of the day on the road yesterday, and today is going to be the same. But it's for something that is going to be very good, I believe. And I'll be able to be with my family. So I'm going to go ahead and do a reading out of this book. It's called Everyday Affirmations. And again, I'm just going to let you all know that I have no idea what it's going to say. So you're about to see me exposed. You're about to see me wondering what the heck am I reading and how am I going to respond to that. This video isn't going to be edited. It'll go on Facebook Live. It will go on on YouTube. And I don't edit it. It's raw. It's uncut. And you know what? It's just me just trying to trust. And also I kind of lack editing skills, so that also plays some part in it. And I just don't have the time, I'll be honest with you. I don't have the time to go in and edit. And so I just make the best out of it. This is raw, uncut, this is nitty gritty, but I expect the reading will be good. I did already smudge, by the way. I typically like to smudge down before I do that, but I don't do so in the car. I did before I left. So that was my way of getting my day started off with, in a spiritual sense, and connection with that which is sacred within to that which is sacred in all living, in everything. There isn't anywhere where that power doesn't lie. So I will go ahead and get started. I did look at it just for a brief second, and the headline, so I have no idea. I'm really fascinated by this relative because it says act. Now, here we go. So, for January 19th, act. What may happen may still happen yet. No one knows what the future holds or when our hopes and dreams will bear fruit. If you want to increase the likelihood of your preferred future, it will require your action to shift the balance. You cannot be certain of the outcome, but you can tip the scales in your favor through the choices you make. Do not rely on hope alone to make the future. You are capable of so much more than that. Holy, that's a good one. Are you kidding me? That is an awesome one, but I feel like, you know, since I'm driving, I feel like I wish that I could read that again. You know what I mean? So it's talking about action. It's talking about tipping, like what we want for our own lives. There are things that we can do to tip our vision, our desires, our what we yearn for, what we wish for, what we want our lives to be like. There are things that we can do to help with that. And that doesn't necessarily promise that we will receive that outcome, the outcome we don't know. But I like that because it's really good, positive language. I feel like it's empowering to say there are things that you can do, and it also places, like, to me it really is very fundamental, and that's what I need. I don't understand so much excuse me, complicated language and stuff like that, that overcomplicates things. I like it, for me, really simple, so I don't have to decipher and try to interpret. This goes right to the point. It says if you have a vision for your life, if you have something that you want, that you see with your own heart, with your own, however it is, that you want for yourself, that there are going to be things that you can do to increase the odds of that happening in your life. And I just absolutely love that. And I believe that. I absolutely believe that. Now, okay, I'm going to tell you right now that it's not easy from my own experience, relatives, from my own experience. Okay, I will tell you this. I'm a single dude. Okay, I like being single. Don't get me wrong. I like being single because I've been in some messed up relationships. I've had some near misses. You know what I mean? So I'll use that as a very personal example. Is that I have wanted to meet somebody to share my life with, and that, you know, have things in common with and stuff like that. So to do something, to have something like that has been definitely a journey for me. It's been a long journey. Okay, but there are things that I can do if I visualize the type of person that I want to be that close in my life with. And this, relatives, I did not think that I was going to be talking about this, all right? I had no idea what this was going to bring out, but I just really realized that a lot of people can relate with this. And so I'm just going to put it out there like that. Now I'm starting to already regret it, because that's one of the more personable things in my life. You know what I mean? But again, that's what these readings, that's why I don't want them edited. I want them to remain raw, okay? So for that to happen was for me to look like, to be able to tip the scale, I would say, just like they said, into the direction where it would make that outcome what I want for my life, because sort of bear fruit. Okay, so there are things that I could be doing. You know, what can you do? What goal it is it for you? If you are able to, you know, like there was a workshop recently, and in fact, you know what, it's today, but I won't be able to attend it. They were going to do like a vision map, like a vision board. So there are real cool things that you can do, taking action to sort of make realistically whatever it is that you want for your own life. And sometimes, you know, it may seem far-fetched, but for myself, everything that has come in fruition for my own life at one time definitely felt far-fetched, definitely seemed unreachable, without a doubt. And a lot of that had to do with the way that I was taught growing up, the language that was said growing up. And I had to look at that. Was it empowering? Was it disempowering? And how was that type of language? What was there that could have helped me? And what was there that took away? And so I was able to make an evaluation of that, a very honest evaluation from the very beginning. I went back, and I'm not saying that people should do that. I'm just saying that that was really important for me. And I went back because to me, it was kind of like getting to the root of an issue, of a problem. Like, why am I this way? And for me to gain a better understanding of that, I had to take some action. And so part of it, action may look differently. Action may look like going out and hitting the streets and going into places, introducing yourself, going to social occasions. That's what really helps me, relatives. Like for me to ask, to pray, to determine what it is that I want, I need to be in balance, okay? Because for me, that's just what I know that works for me. And by that, I need to be balanced physically, I need to be balanced mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Like, that is 4 very good, like, real, practical things, outlooks, philosophies that they always work. It never fails. Whenever I decide, you know what, I want to create a vision for myself. And number one, I'm using good language. It's the type of language that we hear. It's the type of language that we associate with life. So one of the first things that we can do as far as action goes is that we can take a look at the language that we use, because the language is always going to tell us who we are. You cannot fool. I know we can dress it up, but the language is never going to fail us. How we talk, the words that we use are reflective of the beliefs that we have about ourselves. And sometimes what happens is when we decide we want to create a vision for ourselves, what usually happens, we find out that we really sort of shortchange ourselves. We really minimize what is actually capable for us. We kind of get used to asking for the bare minimum. We're used to asking for scraps. We're used to, if there's a big table of all these delicacies, all these wonderful foods, all these strange things that we've never seen, we don't really sort of, so there's, but and it's available for everybody. Everybody can come and eat. Everybody, it's a buffet. Everybody is welcome. And so if we have that kind of mindset where maybe like we were brought up, and we don't feel as though we deserve to have the delicacies in life, if we don't feel as though we are deserving, that's really going to affect what we're asking for. That's really going to affect our definition of a healthy relationship, our definition of feeling fulfilled. It's really going to impact our viewpoint on what we are actually capable of. So oftentimes, action can look very much like taking a look at ourselves first, or even along the line, like I never stop doing a daily self-evaluation or a self-assessment of, even in a situation, if I come out of a situation, like say if I went on a date with a gal, or I applied for a job, or I went to a social thing, you know what I'm saying? I'm taking action, all right? I'm taking a risk. You know, oftentimes action is about taking big risks. But what may seem as though as a big risk for somebody, such as myself, may be a lot easier for somebody else. And so what we do is we often compare, and I always caution people when comparing is something that we just kind of naturally do. Okay, let's just be real. Let's keep it real, all right? We compare to each other because that is a part of human nature, to compare than to size people up. It was a situation always, if you go back and look, is we had to determine what our surroundings are going to be like. All right, that was just, and it's still true today. But there is a situation now where comparing ourselves is often does really sort of be damaging to ourselves and to other people, because I know I've done that quite a bit, and that automatically just kind of, you know, like in the old days and like a comedy show, somebody would be out on stage and they'd be telling jokes, but the audience was kind of like booing, and they weren't funny, and all of a sudden this big hook came out. It was like part of the comedy skit, actually. And then a big hook came out and yanked him off stage. So that's oftentimes what comparing will do for us. We're in the right place. We have that opportunity, but it is our own mind, it is our own outlook that kind of, the big hook comes out, it just yanks us off the stage, because we get into these mindsets of comparing ourselves. And like I said, if that's part of your situation, I see it not necessarily as an enemy. I see it as a teaching moment, as an opportunity to say, holy smoke, check me out. You know, as long as I've been around, I'm walking into this room, and here I am going off and comparing myself to people, like making myself better or making myself worse yet, making myself worse. And what that does, it takes me out of the moment. It takes me out of the vision that I created for myself. And all of a sudden, I'm all caught up in this type of thinking. And if it's a job interview, that is going to affect how I go into that job interview. And if it's like a social situation, it's going to affect me. And people are going to pick up on that, and I'm not going to be able to be as effective. It is actually going to create distance within myself, within my true self, because spiritually wise, we know that there is no hierarchy of this, that, and the other, of looks, of materialism, of what I have found. And granted, all of that is real. Don't get me wrong. All of that is real. And there's evidence all over the place to that. But I have found that I am very, very capable when I identify it. And then I just say, okay, I saw you. There you are. But I ain't having it right now. I can't afford to have you to have your way with me in this situation. So I feel empowered by that, and then I can make that decision to snap myself out of it, to say, yeah, you know what, at one time you had control of my life. You were there to protect me. You've been put there by a belief system of fear. And granted, sometimes that helps me, because I do need to size the situation up. I do need to determine where I'm at, and very really if I'm safe, if I'm in danger, or whether or not the situation isn't what I thought it was going to be. But right now, go ahead and take a step back, because I got some living to do. I need to spread my wings out a little bit, and I don't need you interfering with that. So you're kind of having this conversation with yourself. And when you're able to do that, you identify that as a barrier. You identify that, and now it's not so much about the people around you, what we're used to doing. Now it's so much about you become self-empowered. You start to feel confident. You start, and guess what? It works, because you're making friends. I had that the other day, okay? After I went to a social situation, a support group for 12-step recovery, you know, I then had said there was a karaoke thing going on, and at the meeting, I really couldn't find somebody to go to this karaoke with me. And so what happened was that I said, okay, I'm going to go. I was getting myself psyched up because I knew I have this fear of going places alone. And that has more to do with this delusion, with this preconceived idea, like people are going to see me being alone. They're going to not think that I have friends. And all this dialogue starts to happen. And if I focus on that dialogue, it's just going to start getting louder and louder and louder. And then pretty soon, I'm not going to be able to make my goal for that day. And then I'm going to turn around. I'm going to find some good excuse not to do what I set out to do. So the other night, what night was this? Yeah, my nights are all screwed up just because I've been kind of bouncing around so much. This was Friday night, so this was just, it's Sunday right now, so this is just as bad. And so what I chose to do, I said, no, I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm going to feel those uncomfortable feelings, and then I'm going to kind of I know that they're there, so the door has been opened. They're in the house, in this house, no doubt about it. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go and picture like a doorway. There's a back door, there's a window, or even the front door. I'm going to open up the door. I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to, you can see your way out, right now. I know you're there. I acknowledge the fact that you're there, but I acknowledge the fact that you have prevented me from my goals. And you're not going to do it right now. Okay, so you can see your way out. And so that's what I did. And then I took action. That was the action that I took, like the internal action. And then I did the physical action. I said, that's it. And I got in my car and I made a beeline towards the karaoke place. And guess what? That dialogue started coming back again when I started seeing the place. Oh my God, I started getting nervous. Like, I know that if I was with somebody, it would have gone much easier. No doubt about it. You know what I'm saying? But even if I was with somebody, that doesn't automatically ensure that I would have been very comfortable with a new social situation. Because personally, I've never done karaoke before. But at the time, I knew I identified something within myself that needed attention. And that was a social situation. Okay? So the reason why I bring that up is because I went. I was like, nope, I ain't having it. I'm going. I identified that I need to have some social time. I need to get out because right now, life just so happens, relatives, that I'm spending a lot of time at home, okay? I'm not complaining about that because I feel really grateful, okay? I'm keeping myself busy. I'm kind of doing a routine, like I'm going to the library a lot because I'm doing some homework. I'm doing my paintings at home. So these things, and it's really cold out right now, so I'm not able to get out and do my bicycling. I'm not able to go fishing. I'm not able to do things that I normally wouldn't do. So I knew this was coming, especially during the winter. So I have learned a thing or two, even though I still struggle with it. You know what I mean? Anyways, so I knew that me needing to get out was going to affect me. It was going to affect me in a good way. I knew that if I decided to stay home, it was going to affect me because I had made a very simple goal for myself, and I know it's really simple. I know life can be so complicated, relatives. You know what I mean? So that just goes to show you, like, one little step can really make a difference. And so I went, and you know what? I didn't stay very long, but you know what? I met that goal. That was like, almost felt like Mission Impossible, like I was Tom Cruise. And and there was that music, dun 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 dun. That's what it felt like to me, but it was actually very, very simple. And you know what? I had a good time. This was a place that I really wanted to support, that I continue. They're relatively a new organization, but as soon as I saw that they were opening up, I reached out. I did an educational thing for them. It went really well. I've gone there to study, to show my support, but actually to receive that support back, to have a place to go where there's those things in common. And I really dig this place. I really dig it. I mean, I vibe with it really well. There's community there. They had a free comedy show last night, and I was, I had other things that I needed to do, and I loved what I did last night. But I would have went last night because I know that is a place that I feel like I really, really am going to be able to find people that I can socialize with, to meet that need for me, to have friendships, to have fun. And the reason why I bring that up is because I was really thankful. I said, yes, I did it. Score, you know what I mean? I was proud of myself. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because before I make these big decisions, as far as my life goes, I like to make sure that I'm in balance. Like if I'm going to go out on a date, I like to make sure that I've done the things that I do for my spirituality, to meet my spiritual needs. Now that might look different from you, my respect, you know what I'm saying? But I also want to make sure that I'm okay, that I got some rest, that I'm physically. I like to work out, okay? I mean, I'm not like I don't have a gym membership or nothing, so it's really challenging in the winter time, at this time, to take care of my physical needs. And granted, I am not starving, relative. I'm fed very, very well, but also I need to make an honest self-appraisal. I need to make an assessment of myself, okay? For me, of what it is, where am I at physically? What is my nutrition looking like? And I gotta say, relatives, I'm not being judgmental because I have nowhere to judge. I could make a lot more improvements there, and I know it, okay? So physically wise, being outside, it's a little bit more challenging, particularly on a day like this when it is just absolutely dangerously cold outside. And look at it, it's sunny, it's beautiful out, but it is cold. So before I make any type of decisions, I need to know where am I at in my physical nature, okay? I also take a look at where am I at emotionally. If I'm going to go to a job interview, just for instance, or go out on a date, or go to somewhere socially, obviously I'm not going to go if I'm not up for it emotionally. Like maybe if something happened, I'm going to make sure that I'm in balance. So that can play a different type of role, because sometimes emotionally wise, sometimes all these aspects wise, spiritually can be going somewhere socially. Has nothing to do with prayer, nothing to do with church, nothing to do with sweat lodge, nothing to do with etc. Sometimes going to somewhere socially can bring balance to the other aspects. So it can be, let's not overcomplicate this thing though. But when I do want to make myself long-term goals, I make sure that I'm in balance across that sort of, for lack of a better way, philosophy. Okay? And so that's action. And then when I take that big action, I'm feeling more confident. I'm feeling like in balance. And that's going to make all the difference, completely all the difference. but that's not going to prevent me from being stressed out. That's what I found out is that I can get very stressed out very easily. I can put a lot of pressure on myself. Last night I was speaking in front of probably around 75 people, and I was stressed out. And you know what? It went well, and you know, it didn't go perfectly, but I look back on it, and that was a part of my goal. I set out a goal. I set out a strategy. I set out goals. I identified ways that I could meet those goals. I looked at my calendar. I looked at resources within the community. I looked at resources online. How can I even prepare? Oh man, that makes all the difference in the world. That is action. And so sometimes we struggle with even creating goals for ourselves. Sometimes, and I don't know about you, definitely me, all right? Definitely me. I have struggled with not only that feeling of, man, do I really deserve this? You know, is this really something? I mean, like for me, like, am I really asking for that? Is that really what I want? Because I can actually sabotage my own journey, my own process to keep me from what my heart really wants, the outcome of what I really want. That's why I, for myself, needed to go back. I needed to get to work. I needed to take some action on the origin of why I suffered from low self-esteem. First of all, I had to make that connection. Why is it that I don't feel as though that I deserve this person in my life? Why is it that I feel as though that I'm not good enough for that position? When in fact, everything on paper is, and even if there isn't, just that mindset and attitude alone is like a philosophy in my life. I had to identify that this is a real big portion of my life, that this is keeping me from taking action. So oftentimes those actions center in our thoughts or inaction. Inaction is a form of action, and it can really keep us from feeling fulfilled. Okay, so myself, I had to get to the root of that. I had to for myself. I tried every which way that I possibly could to get to the root of that. Why is it that I consistently feel as though I am lacking? Why is that? Well, I had to get to the center of that thinking, because that thinking was affecting the vision that I really wanted for myself. Like, in all honesty, there were things that I wanted for myself, and I saw other people getting, and they didn't seem like they were working any harder than I was, or that they were more qualified, or in fact, it may have seemed that I was even working more harder than other people and stuff like that. So it was like a big mystery to me, and finally I just had to start really going to work, taking some action. I'm going to the root of where was the origin of why it is that I'm like this. And so I did. I had to really get to know my past. I really had to get to know my past. Okay? I had to go back to childhood. That was taking action. Okay? Some people, they say you don't have to do that, but for me, that's what works. For me, that's what worked. All right? And then I had to take a real honest assessment of not so much like not in it. Now I really went back and I realized, man, no wonder I am the way that I am. Holy smokes. And that was pretty easy, okay? That was pretty easy for me. But then it really got difficult. That was when they say you separate from the men from the boys. Is then I had to look myself in the mirror and I had to say, now, what role have you played a part in perpetuating what it is that happened to you long ago? Because that was long ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's was history. That's no longer the way that it is now. But for some reason or another, you keep repeating the same type of behavior, the same type of actions, and it's kind of the same outcome. And it's the same feeling that there's more to life than I know that there is. And that's the spiritual part of ourselves. And the spiritual part of ourselves can very much butt heads with wherever we're at, wherever we're living, with even the people around us. The spiritual part of ourselves functions off its own spiritual values, its own spiritual beliefs, its own philosophy. And so then I had to get to know that part of me and find places within me that spoke to that. And that led me onto another part of my journey. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had to go out into the community and I had to make a strategy, a plan for myself. And then I had to go out and it was really good for me to speak to others and listen to others. There's a lot of good resources out there online where people are talking about this, about the struggle and about the success and falling down and getting back up. You know what I mean? And so then I had to learn about what I talked about earlier. It's like what it does when I'm comparing myself and how it takes away from my goal, whether that be that short-term goal of action, whether it be that long-term goal of action. And so I'm really becoming very active now. I'm really becoming active, okay? I'm no longer... I've identified what's kind of constraints restraining me. I'm identifying that, and now I'm identifying ways to strategize on what I can do about it while I'm going through this journey. While this journey is happening, I'm living life. I want to live life. I don't want to do the same thing over and over and over again. I feel like I'm stuck. And that was the first footprint. That feeling and acknowledging that feeling, that was the first footprint on a whole new way of life for me. And so I still continue to do that. Like I said, sometimes habits like that stick around for a lot longer than what we think or would want them to, that they would. Realistically speaking, we're adults now, but we're carrying around old beliefs, we're carrying around even the way that we talk is going to make a difference. So we can actually choose to use different language to help us in our goal. And we also have to be careful about who we put ourselves and share our vision with, because some people aren't going to see you as capable of doing such. Okay? So that can hold you back too, if you choose to let it. Now that's going to be a choice that is going to be up to you, because then that can become an excuse. Well, they don't believe in me. I went to them and all they had to do was talk negative. And hey, if that's going to prevent you from the outcome that you know that you want for yourself, and you know it in your heart, then guess what? It's just simply not going to happen, because you can always find people that are not going to believe in you. Okay? That's just automatic. We know that, but we also know the impact that can have that can really bring us down. So now, if we know that this is a part of life, so now when we hit that, when somebody does, like isn't we don't have to exactly see them as an enemy and say, well, I don't like you, you're out of my life. Maybe it's a family member. We can just say, hey, I knew that was going to happen. Eventually I was going to find some way that was going to create a barrier. And guess what? That barrier was meant for us as part of the journey. See, we have this idea that, hey, I have this vision, and now it's going to be cruise control. I've had it. Thank God. Hallelujah. And now I'm cruising right along. And when you're cruising right along, guess what? Winter weather just starts stepping in. Road hazards come. Hazards in the roads. Your car breaks down. Bad health takes place. Money issues jump in. Maybe a situation with the relationship happens, and next thing you know, it all comes crashing down. Maybe at once, maybe a little bit at a time. But those are the barriers. That's why we take a look at ourselves from an aspect of mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. The world can come crashing down, but if we have a support system, if we know how to act and go out there, and number one, a lot of people are simply staying home too much. A lot of our children, they're in front of that TV and they're not out in Mother Nature. They're out of balance. So we have a lot of our youth that are intellectually wise getting their needs met because they're online. Oh, I'll Google that. But if you're not out on Mother Nature and receiving the lessons from something that has been along a lot longer than technology speaking, then for me and my own philosophy I'm out of balance. So if I'm not going out on the land in my own strategy and philosophy to make those determinations, to get that help from Grandmother Earth, to make that connection to the directions, then I might be going into a situation of creating a vision for myself that is out of balance. And now I'm shortchanging myself. It's a very limited outlook. It's a very limited at that moment it can be very limited, but that doesn't mean that today it might be like that tomorrow I can't do that. So yeah, you know what, I really believe in action, but action can look entirely different, and action can be meditation. It might appear as though I'm inactive, but I am in deep thought. I am in deep meditation. I am in quiet mode. So, I think that there's just all kinds of cool things for action, and I'm so grateful that I don't have to feel stuck, that I don't have to, that tough times, are a part of life. And now my attitude towards those is that they are going to teach me something about myself. And for a long time, relatives, for years, I was stagnant. I was going backwards. I was digging my own grave. And a lot of that had to do with my belief system. Okay, so that wasn't my fault. That was not my fault, relatives. That was not my fault. And that was a very healing place for me to come to. And now that I know that it's not my fault, now my psyche has changed. Now I start to take a look at my options of where I was responsible, on how I can become responsible for my own mindset, my own attitude. There are very simple things to do to change that whole equation. Yes, therapy is good. Okay, I've been through it. All right, but there are also that takes money. There are also some very simple things that you can do to change things completely from one minute to the next. One of them is to reach out to somebody and offer to help somebody. That's action. Offer to say, hey, how are you doing today? I do that. I'll message somebody and I'll say, hey, I was thinking about you. Just wondering how you're doing. Pick up the phone and say, that has made all the difference in the world. So these small actions can go a long ways in turning my day around and brightening my outlook. Oh man. So I wish I kind of could go back to the reading, but I don't want to take my road or my eyes off the road. Traffic actually isn't too bad, so I could probably do that. But I'll just leave it at that. I'm just going to let you know, relatives, before I end the video, that I still do struggle with that, okay? That that I identify that I do struggle with that. But guess what? That means that I'm in the right place, okay? That means I'm in the right place because now I know that there is struggle in life and that there is success in life. There are going to be times when I'm not struggling. And the fact that I know that about myself shows that there's progress that has been made. Okay? And for me, I am very grateful for that. And since I'm feeling grateful for that, that's going to bring me into balance. That's going to help me learn more about gratitude, to learn more about success. That's going to help me in determining what it is that I need to do on the next corner, on the next street, on the next time. That is going to be like making deposits. I'm making a deposit. I'm investing in myself in this spiritual bank of life. Okay, and I know already, we know already that there's going to be hard times. And I always say, man, the most important things in life are health. That is the most, like, one of the top things. And a lot of our relatives out there are struggling with their health. And if you've been there, then that's when you come to that. And that's when life really, what's really important in life really starts to become really clear. And so when you're at that time, you really wish, like, hey, I really, looking back on myself, hindsight is always 20/20, they say, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes hindsight isn't always 20/20. You know what I mean? But then that's when you really look at your life and you say, man, I wish I would have taken that risk. I wish I would have did that. And so for myself, that's always going to happen. That's always going to happen. But there are a set of principles and values that now I know when a situation comes upon myself that this is an opportunity. And I don't judge myself. If I let an opportunity pass by, I can look at it and say, man, you know what? Why didn't I see that for what it was? Man, guess what? I don't come down on myself the way that I used to and make myself less than with that old attitude that I'm a loser, that why is it that I do this? I ask myself those questions and I catch myself saying that and I say, no, thank you. I'm opening the door. I'm going to let you out. This is a teachable moment. Everybody experiences love. Everybody has. Nobody's perfect. Everybody's far from perfect. I'm going to use new language with that. I'm going to say, man, yeah, I did let that one slide. But guess what? What can I do about that now? In this moment, what can I do? I can pick up that phone. I can make a connection. Or I can go to create the same type of situation. We're co-creators in this thing, relatives. We are co-creators. Our values, our thoughts, our actions, our beliefs Our words are going to create situations. They're going to create opportunities. They're also going to create awareness within ourselves of where we don't need to be, where we don't need to go, where are places within, where are places without that are going to be supportive. Okay, and where are places within and throughout are going to be unsupportive. Okay, but I'm going to do my best to stay away from villainizing myself and villainizing other people, because other people, that is going to create distance between myself and others. And granted, some people are villains. Okay, you see that all the time. You see that oftentimes villains are put on the top of the hierarchy. But for myself, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden I need to compromise myself and become somebody that I don't see as a value of characteristics of oneself. Okay, and that centers in my thinking. That is a thinking moment. That is a thinking opportunity. And myself, that really makes all the difference in how I create an opportunity for myself. How I see. I don't feel like I'm full of myself, relatives. As a matter of fact, I'll be honest with you, I still struggle with self-esteem issues, with self-image issues. But I tell you what, when I look at the way how far I have come, I can see that there has been just a lot of progress. There has been so much progress that I feel as though it has saved my life. I'll be real honest with you. And so when I do, it's important for me to look at that, to take time out and look at that, to measure that in a sense, to see how far I've come. And that tells me that the action works. There's things that no longer serve me that may have worked at one time. And so it is a trial. I mean, it is excuse me, somebody was passing me. I kind of had to look over, make sure everything was cool. And I really feel this, relatives. This is how I feel, okay? You can correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe this will change. Maybe this language will be different tomorrow. I honestly feel that part of that struggle will always be a part of my life. Okay? I feel like I will progress. I will. But I also think that that is a part of life. Okay? So now, when something does come up that is a struggle, I don't have to look at it as the Gigi man, like the monster. Like, I knew, hey, this is a part of life. Our relatives knew that, they knew that we would be this place. I knew when I created a vision for myself that there was going to be struggle along the way. And so now I knew that, like, part of life is conflict and harmony. In harmony and out of harmony. That is always going to be a place. And now I can make a determination. I can make an educated and informed choice. And I don't have to make that determination at that time, but I can take time out for myself. Make sure that I'm in balance. And so, I don't know if I've talked about everything. Oh my God, every time I talk, I'm always early. I always try and make sure I stay within the speed limit, but I'm always early. That's all right, though. I guess I'll get there early. You know what I'm saying? And guess what? I bet you I meet people. Man, I'll tell you what, I get excited about that, relatives. Okay? Because at one time I was just absolutely terrified. Absolutely terrified. When I say terrified, I'm going to tell you that. I'm going to put a capital T on that, to get to know people. terrified of social situations because of how I felt about myself. And I'm not going to do that no more. I've made a commitment to myself, and that wasn't easy. And it's been over time, but there are things that I can do today. Part of that is recognizing that first of all. Recognizing the fact that that is a part of who I am. That's been a part of who I am, and now I'm recognizing that is my first footprint on change. And so I'm really thankful for that. And now I honestly feel this, relatives. I'll be real honest with you. That I feel like I could do just about anything. I'm going to tell you that right now. That I feel like I can do just about anything that I would want to do. So long as I'm healthy, so long as I continue to stay on this road, I have found out that it's the simple things that I value the most. It's the simple things in life that are the most important. But it is my own spirit that is going to tell me what I want for myself. And what it is that is going to, for me, to make me feel alive, truly alive. And I'm just really grateful that I've had this opportunity to be here today and to prove myself wrong. And now I don't feel as though I could be sitting in a room full of politicians, millionaires, all these people, and feel completely at peace and feel completely equal, completely as good. I can feel sit in a room full of homeless people and feel completely at peace, completely at home, completely equal in value. That I'm no better than them, I'm no worse because I don't know their life situation. Same with a room full of millionaires, because I've had it happen. It's been proven. I proved it to myself that can happen. And now that tells me that action works. But it ain't easy. It's a lot harder for some of us that come from these backgrounds where life was hard, poverty, racism, abuses of all different kinds, where society was actually against us, relatives. That's real, man. So I'm acknowledging that and getting real honest. And so guess what? I'm bringing honesty into my vision set, the vision, my mindfulness of my goal. Because a lot of conversations will say, come on now, we've been talking about that for years. You know what I'm saying? Those are the rooms that I don't participate in. Okay, because that may not be somebody else's perspective. That may not be somebody else's experience. So I go to rooms where people talk real. And so that for me has helped. And it works. And it works. And it works. So anyways, I'm just about to my destination. That gives me that opportunity to stop by and gas up, whereas I normally wouldn't be. And guess what? I'm going to be right on time. I'm going to wish you a beautiful day. If you ever want to talk, let me know. Shoot me an email. If this is YouTube, my email is on my channel or station or whatever it's called. If this is Facebook, you probably have me as a friend. Feel free to look me up. Let's see each other as relatives, as a resource, as relatives, as a relative resource to empower one another, to help each other, that old kinship system. Anyways, I'll get to, but go ahead and look me up, comment. Please feel free to comment. Please feel free to share. This is 3 days in a row that I've done a video. That's a record for me, but I've been doing these videos for about 8 years. I think it's year 8 anyway. But I am at an intersection. I will let you go, relatives. I'll see you again soon.